I'm Bill Antonelli. Hi, Bill.
Let me see.
Tony Colter.
Yeah, it's been a
I
while.
recognize
Marty's
that.
the one that always
Yeah.
brings them.
Sue Peterson.
Heidi Hinkle.
Yeah.
God, I had
What?
two of them.
We're introducing ourselves.
We're introducing
Oh,
ourselves.
well, I'm Dale Harthen. I'm not a member of this, I'm just stepping in, but
Chuck Hinkle.
Elena Gagliano.
Chuck Lizer.
Scott Sylvester.
Steve Kimball from DNRC.
I don't hear
How are you doing, Steve? Okay.
too many big,
Sometimes I have a
too
cup
many
of
big
coffee
guns
with,
for young.
Brett Bledsoe is our NRCS guy here in town. I don't know if you know Brett.
No.
Yeah.
You, Tony?
Yeah.
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he's not too bad.
Yeah, he's
He
a
must
good
be on
guy.
the vote today. So the minutes.
I've got them in there, so. So we
Okay.
have to prove them then, I guess?
And, yeah, any comments on the minutes? Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I wasn't here, so I don't approve.
But I sent them to you.
Right, but I mean, right, exactly, but.
Anybody?
All motion, everybody looking at me.
Okay.
Well, I didn't understand. On page 2, it says there was a study done out of Washington, D.C. that showed about 15,000 people die each year from smoke hazards. And then in France, before precautions were taken, 15,000 died of heat stroke. What does the two have to do with each other?
I bet you changed that, but anyway.
I did, I took out that other part.
There was a study done, from some guy in Washington DC, some doctor. And I got this through the Smoke Jumpers Association, working with those guys. And are you aware of those? Anybody? They're retired?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So that is a figure that they told me that the study says that people die in the western United States from all the smoke.
Right. I didn't understand what the
And-
heat stroke
and I
has
was
to
trying
do with
make a
smoke.
comparison. I just happened to tell somebody that I
Okay.
read in the newspaper from France, because I read French newspapers. And in the last heat wave back in the early 2000s or sometime like that, they had a heat wave for like 2 or 3 weeks, and 15,000 people died just in France. Okay, so that 16 or 15,000 isn't unrealistic for here, and it's not people dying immediately, you know, of smoke. I mean, they have heart conditions, lung conditions, or whatever, and it hastens the death. And that's what that was.
All right, any other comments on the minutes? And there's a motion to approve them. Is there a second? Come on, Sue, step up.
Well, I mean, I wasn't here, so, I mean, I can't approve. It's
Oh,
not
sure you
right.
can.
Is it right, though? I mean, I.
I'll second it. I'll second it.
Thanks.
There we go.
You're
I
welcome.
mean, I don't
All
want
right.
to break a law or anything.
Very good, very good. And any dissenters? No. Good deal, okay. Heidi,
Oh, budget?
how are you
Okay.
doing?
Good,
You
good.
betcha. It's good to see you.
Well, I stopped in because I guess if they did send this to me, it might have went to junk mail. But it looks like we have, out of $5,000, we spent $220, and we have $4,780 left in
And
our fund.
maybe Steve could explain that we really, we have it, but we don't have it.
Yeah, so the DNRC awarded Granite County $5,000 for collaboration on Fed lands, or working with the Fed agencies. But we didn't transfer the money. It's in our account, and we will reimburse you when you send invoices. So we need an invoice that explains what it's for, how much, when it was spent, and then we will send you payment. It would be good to package them, not just to do, you know, one for a couple hundred. it'd be good to send in a series of invoices that are significant, you know, maybe 500 or 1,000 or something, if you can do that. But each invoice should explain how it's related to the purpose of the grant, which is to help you with your collaboration. You know, if you can look at the grant proposal, you said that Mike Cahill has it, but it looked like you wanted to work, this group wanted to expand its work and participation and, you know, be more effective. And part of that is part of why Tony's here, because we think there's a way for you to, maybe a track for you to get on to expand your participation and your collaboration with the larger group, the people right there. So we'll wait for that. But make sure, you know, at some point you send in the invoices for reimbursement with good description.
Okay, where would I get the address and what kind of invoices?
Okay, well, you can send it to me.
Or from right
You
on
can send it to
here?
there, and if
Okay.
you talk with Mike Cahill,
Okay,
he has the agreement
Okay.
that the county and the DNRC signed, and it has the email and address, but if you send it to me, I'll get it to our
Okay.
grants people.
Wouldn't we give the information to the clerk and recorder, and then she would take care of dispersing or sending it to you guys?
Say that again,
The clerk and recorder,
the clerk and recorder,
rather than sending it directly to you?
if you want to do that, well, the clerk and recorder would end up sending it to me or our grants person that works with me. Somebody from the county, I don't care who it is, somebody from the county sends an invoice with
Okay.
the amount and, you know, the reference to the grant number, which Mike Cahill has, is a grant number, just so we know what it's for and that kind of thing. But the purpose of this grant was to help the county, you know, build on this work of this group and expand collaboration. That's what it's for. It's collaboration grants. It's local government grants. Now, you could use that for travel. So if somebody's going to hear speakers or a workshop or a working group meeting, you can be reimbursed for travel as long as it has something to do with collaboration and Forest Service or BLM. And you can use it to pay speakers that will help inform you. And you can use it for you know, any type of workshop or meeting you have where you're trying to draw more participation. And if there's an expense, like you need to rent a room or a facilitator, you use it for that. So that, you know, it's fairly open, but it has to do with working with the Fed land agencies and collaboration. That's what the purpose of the grant is for. And you've got till September 2020 to be reimbursed. That's when the grant expires.
we used that $220, we made copies of this, it's called a Granite County Natural Resource Land Use Plan.
Okay.
It never was approved or adopted. This is from 1994, and we're gonna try to build from this.
Okay.
And so that's what our $220 was used for.
And then where do those copies go?
To each member got a copy.
Is there a way to make that available to a broader, you know, can you put it on the county's website or something? So
Well, I don't know, it was never adopted.
it's never adopted.
No, so that's
Yeah.
what we're, one of our things on our,
Okay.
is to try to do that.
Does it talk about Forest Service and BLM management?
I'm sure it does, it talks about all kinds of stuff in here.
Do you have an extra copy for me to take? So
Why
if
don't I could get Blaine, Dick?
Could Dick run this up and have Blaine?
Blaine has a real
Blaine's
fast
office,
copier.
You could run off like, how about like half dozen extra
Maybe
copies?
his
and these guys
his
could
helper
work
would-
on it.
Yeah.
If you want,
Well, but it's way faster and then Colette can do it.
yeah.
What's that?
Up at Blaine's office, Colette has a really fast copier.
Yeah.
Up
And then
at
you don't
the
have to do
county
it one
attorney.
at a time.
You want me to take it?
County attorney,
Dick, you want me to take it?
I can do it. The,
How many do we want?
I'd like to. it'd be
Okay,
great.
1, 2,
If, you know, like a half dozen extra, then it's that extravagant.
I don't think we have to go overboard, you know, like you say, it's something we're using for a resource, but it never was adopted.
right.
So it's interesting.
Probably just give
Helpful.
one copy and
Well,
give it, see?
He wants one too.
Oh, don't.
Yeah, so 2 copies.
2 copies?
But
Do you mind if I ask a question?
Sue says 3.
Hmm?
Sue says 3.
I think really big.
So yeah, see if they'll make us 3 copies.
You want
of that.
4 now?
No, I do not.
Do I hear 5?
Yes.
Well, the question I have is on the county budget. It's my understanding that they budgeted $5,000 for the FMAC group. Is the grant in addition to that 5,000, or
No,
is that?
no.
I think it's to
It
reimburse
is
the
that
county.
5,000.
That's to reimburse the county.
Right.
So there is no county budget for the committee?
No county
There
budget
is.
for committee?
There's a county budget for us.
No, there's no county budget. We're counting on that
Yeah.
5,000.
Well, that's what I'm getting at, is that $5,000 from the grant? Or is it
From
an
the grant.
additional
From the
$5,000
grant.
in the budget?
From the grant.
Just in the grant, that's the extent of the money.
For this year, anyway.
Okay. Do I hear 4, 3, 2, 3?
3.
Colette?
Thank you, Dick.
Thank you.
Okay.
So on this collaborative, why do you think we're a collaborative group?
Well, we don't think you are, but the proposal that came in,
I know they fudged on it, I
okay,
saw it.
that's
They
what,
fudged
that's
quite a
all,
bit.
yeah, we
I
looked
just
at that.
wondered if you looked at the bylaws before you awarded the grant, because
We
you
did,
probably should have.
yeah, we didn't look at the bylaws, but we looked at the grant proposal that the commissioner sent in, and it looked reasonable. I mean, they were trying to, the proposal was saying that we have a working group, not a working group, but a committee, an advisory committee that works with the commissioners, and we would like to make that more collaborative and increase participation and diversity, things like that.
But that's, we started off as a collaborative group, and when we submitted our bylaws to the commissioners, they changed it and made it narrow, and we decide by consensus, majority rules. You had to be a resident of Granite County. People that own land in Granite County couldn't even be on the committee. I mean, there's no Sun Mountain isn't involved. I'd love to have Sun Mountain involved, and I'd love to have some more environmental groups involved to make it a true
No, we're not
collaborative.
changing this committee, so.
So, but I'm just telling you, that's what we're up against when you give us money for collaborative. That's not.
Look, you collaborate to coordinate, okay? We went through this many times. You have to collaborate to coordinate.
But we're not a collaborative group, Chuck, and to apply for a grant and imply that you are is not being honest.
I think what Sue is trying to say is we'd like to give you your money back.
Yeah, that's right. But,
I mean, that's what
Then we have no
Well-
budget, and we'll just do it
Well,
ourselves.
we haven't given it to you yet, so we're only gonna reimburse if it looks like it's fitting the purpose of the grant proposal. So we'll police it that way. You send in invoices, and if it seems to fit, like, making this group stronger and working with the forest and the BLM, collaboration's pretty broad, but if you're becoming a group that supports or strengthens the work on the federal agencies, then that'll fit. But if it doesn't, we won't reimburse.
Okay.
So
So you won't reimburse for coordination?
well, you have to.
Wait a minute,
You have
it's
to,
in the law.
you have to explain what it is. Right? You have to tell us more than coordination. Tell us how the money was spent.
Elena?
Oh. Oh.
So you'll.
Do you have any of
when you see
the
invoices,
bylaws?
you'll
Do you have the
know.
bylaws? Because it wasn't
bylaws
there.
right here.
Right.
Like a coordination is in all the, like I said, I told you before, NEPA and, all the federal laws that deal with, local communities. And it says that the federal government will coordinate with the county governments, state governments, tribals, the tribes and whatever. And so it's in the law.
It could fit coordination. Depends on what you're doing.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you can't coordinate without collaborating.
Right.
You see, so you were getting hung up on coordination and
Right.
collaboration.
Send us the invoice and we'll work with you.
Right.
That's the best way to say
Some
it.
Supreme Court justice one time said, I can't tell you what pornography is, but I know it when I see it.
Yeah, there you go.
And so, there you go, you'll know when you see
Great
it.
man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here's a conservative.
yeah, so, are there any other comments on the fact that, well, any other comments on the budget? Okay, very good. We're gonna move on, where we're gonna talk a little bit about this natural resource plan. And have we done our homework? I'd feel more comfortable digging into the natural resource plan when Patty was around, if you wanna know the truth. Because you can bet she's done her homework on that. But if anybody has anything to throw out there on this, somebody did a lot of work even though it did not get adopted.
I say we table it until the next
Can I just
meeting.
mention one thing though?
Well, I'm just
So
making
that sounds
a-
like a motion, and,
Can I just say one little update?
no, Heidi.
Okay. I just wanted to tell you that I did give this to Blaine, and he also took a copy for the, what's her name? Ugh, my mind.
Oh, the
Planning-
planner,
planner.
Linda.
Linda Volk.
Linda.
The county planner.
I hate this, getting older. But anyway, so he is gonna look at all the laws that are in here and get updates
Okay,
for us. So that's one little bit
All right.
forward, I guess.
Can I say one?
Of
I think,
course.
thank you, Bill. You know, since we're all volunteers and it's very hard, I just would like to see us like maybe pick 12 or 20 pages and go through it as a group. You know, we can do our homework, but still, go through it a little bit thoroughly every meeting. Take 15 minutes or something.
Okay, so do I hear you right? You would say at the next meeting, we would try to get through 20 pages.
Right, where's the natural break?
A natural break.
Right.
Looks to me like it's in about 2 pages.
Okay, that's on our speed.
Okay, here we are. We're in, there's chapter 1.
Chapter 1, yeah.
So I move that we try to get through chapter 1.
Okay, all
if
right.
that's appropriate.
And that's not strictly correct because we have a motion to table it.
Oh,
But does anybody have an objection to trying to tackle chapter 1 at our next meeting?
Okay. We can all
That's
kind of read it.
Okay,
right.
and with no objection, there is a motion to table it then till next meeting, and we'll try to get through chapter 1 in the next meeting. Can you put that in the notes there in the minutes?
Yep.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. Anybody? Looks unanimous. Very good. Okay, let me just make a note to myself here. Chapter 1 in November, huh? That'll probably get us off the dime a little bit on the, good for you. All right. Tony,
Okay, well, thank you for allowing me to come to your meeting. My name is Tony Colter. I'm the general manager for Sun Mountain Lumber in Deer Lodge. I presented to the county commissioners here last month, and what we were doing at the time, we being the Beaverhead Deer Lodge Working Group, I'm co-chair of that group. It's a collaborative, working with the Forest Service to try to get them to do more. And what we were doing at the time is applying for a grant the Forest Service has available that they actually award to the forest if they're successful. And that grant was up to $4 million a year for 10 years. So we were submitting an application for that grant. It's called the Collaborative Forest Landscape Restoration Project grant. And we have lots of opportunities on this forest to do more. Mountain pine beetle probably being the biggest issue to kill, the dead, and fire hazard and so forth. But there's lots of other restoration work that needs to be done. So we put together, it was actually in 2 phases, a tier 1. If you made it through tier 1, you get to go to tier 2 with your application for this $4 million a year. And we did not, and so I went to the commissioners to get their support, sign on. We've got a lot of other commissioners from all the counties on Beaver Head Deer Lodge supporting this, and most of them haven't been to Beef Silver Bowl or Anaconda, but the others have all signed on. So we came to the Granite County to get their support, and they wanted me to come to this group first and get you guys' support before they made a decision. So that's how I got on your agenda. Now since then, our tier 1 was not accepted. So we are not going on to tier 2 in the application process. And if you want details on that, Steve's really familiar with the process. But the region is only allowed to pick 2 or 3 in the whole region. And so there were 3 chosen out of the region to go to tier 2. Now, she's still got to pick 2 out of that 3 to go on to the national level. And even then, they might not be accepted. I think last time around 10 years ago, because it's $4 million a year for 10 years. 10 years ago, they picked 10 out of the 23 that applied nationwide. So it's not an easy project to get very limited funds that are available, okay?
Is it worth it?
Pardon me?
Is it worth it?
That's a good question. It's a lot of work.
Maybe we ought to coordinate.
But it would have been $4 million a year, and it can't be used for planning. It can't be used for some of the other things, you see. It has to be on the ground activities for restoration work. So our collaborative saw a real opportunity there. The current leadership on the forest, we have a new supervisor and a new deputy. We're very much supportive of us. It's kind of a joint effort, and actually the forest is the one that actually has to make the application. And so we helped them with that, but we were denied. Now, and so that was why I was originally coming here, and I thought, well, you know, I can call you up and tell you I can't be here because we got denied, but I could also come and tell you about our Beaver Head Deer Lodge working group a little bit. And then also along with that, I'm in this application, one of the things that's required is a restoration strategy for the forest. And ours was not the whole forest, it was just one particular landscape. We're now expanding that restoration strategy to be the entire forest. Actually, Granite County was in the original landscape, that's why we went to Chuck and the rest of the commissioners for support. We're expanding that restoration strategy to the whole forest, and we really need some input from Granite County. That's one of the reasons I'm here. I've got some information on the Beaver Head Deer Lodge working group that I'll hand out, which is just really quick overview of the group. Some of our successes in the past, because we really have quite a few of them with working with the forest. We've been in existence since, well, we started in 2009 and formally adopted bylaws like you guys have in 2011. And we're just getting to the point where we're starting with the new leadership, quantify that, starting to get things accomplished. And got a really good relationship right now at the forest level with the Forest Service.
Who is the forester now? The
Sherry Ford.
Sherry Ford's the new one down in
Yeah.
Dillon.
And Jeff Tomac's the deputy.
Okay.
They've got a bunch of new rangers that are all very much interested in doing more. Now, I'm not trying to, you guys know as well as I do, some of the issues that are still out there with the agency and trying to get stuff done. We're working on those things too, just like you are. So, let me hand these around. Just, I made 10 copies, so there's plenty, I think. And you can look at what we do, some of our accomplishments, who's involved. I've got a list of all the people on our collaborative.
Is this it? Or is this
No, I'm
it?
sorry, that was my notes for the commissioner meeting. But what, I guess two things. One is the restoration strategy I talked about, and we'll be back in contact with you on that, because we could use your, one of the things we're going through, for example, the forest, and this is really a unique opportunity because they've never in the past asked us for input into, well, what are your priorities? Where do you want to go in the forest and do restoration work? And we're now at that point where they're listening, we're developing this restoration strategy together. And so during this process, we're going to be coming up with priorities on the landscape. Bugs is obviously one, and there's lots of bugs, lots of mountain pine beetle killed. There's lots of actually spruce budworm on this end of the forest in your county that needs attention. And ultimately, we think we can still get money, additional funding to help do this work. If we put together a good enough strategy, make a good enough argument, have all the county commissioners, everybody, all counties involved on board, we think we can get more funding for this forest to do that kind of work.
So with that $4 million, where would that go?
Well, it's really specific in the collaborative forest landscape restoration. Was it a bill?
Yeah, it was a omnibus, how do you say it, omnibus bill in 2009 that sets the formula. And it goes to the forest that's selected, and it goes for them to either contracts or staff to implement projects. So it doesn't, you can't plan with it, but you can do sales prep, project prep, and administration, contracts, all that kind of stuff.
Getting contract out.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
so it means jobs.
Right.
It means staffing up more foresters people. It
Right.
means contractor jobs.
Because they're understaffed right now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're understaffed.
Obviously, well, yeah, that's a whole other subject. I mean, actually, Chuck, you've probably seen that report here, that Association of Retired Forest Service employees put together on their capacity.
What's that?
You've seen that report that they put together, the Association of Retired
Oh, yeah.
Forest Service retirees on the
That
capacity of the
that
forest.
letter?
Where the fire personnel and budget has gone like this, and the forest management personnel budget
Yeah,
is
if
just,
you read that letter, it just says we want to keep the fire here
yeah.
and raise up everybody else too, so we'd have a bigger bureaucracy, right?
Well,
But in order to get things
but the
done.
logic is that if you get all the forest management done, you're gonna have less fire, and you're not gonna need those people in fire.
So I just retired from Forest Service in April. The big problem right now is like foresters, forestry techs. There aren't very many out there.
Right.
They're gonna really have trouble getting more acres treated, more volume, unless the agency can hire more foresters. And that's a huge bottleneck, and on this forest too.
Yeah.
Why don't they do it like the old days and have the foresters fight the fires?
Like I used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do some of that, but what they really want to do is
No,
get many more young,
not as easy
up and
as
coming
you think.
foresters into the system, crank out more projects.
Yes, that's the
Spend more fire money on doing preventive work and they'll have less fires.
That's exactly right.
yeah.
But that's why they need
I
staff.
don't believe in giving them a blank check for fire. I just don't believe in it.
Let's get more smoke jumpers and smoke chasers.
Signature.
Right, yeah.
I said I wasn't gonna say anything, but I just can't keep my mouth shut when it comes to that, because I've fought enough fire, I've managed enough timber to know how to do it.
So,
And we need to start breaking up this stuff up here and getting rid of all this,
Recorder's office and talk
you
to
know,
them.
get some diversity out there, that's the problem.
yeah.
Yeah, he's saying it's.
Well, that's what we're
And they're saying.
all about, is getting more,
That's not the way they do it.
more work done on the ground.
Yeah,
I mean, I work for some.
She wants you to stop.
So, Tony,
I'd like to see about a dozen timber sales up here. I know that there isn't the capacity, milk capacity anymore. And I'd like to see the government subsidize putting some mills back.
I guess you need to-
So that they
Somebody.
handle it.
So along
That's
those
what we
lines,
need.
In this restorative work, one of the issues that I'm seeing is that there's so
Did I say
much,
too much?
Oh, it's pretty easy.
there's
Did I
so
say too
much unmerchantable material or
Yeah.
low quality
Yeah.
material that has to come out of the woods,
Yeah.
out of the forest, in order to make this happen. Is there any way to leverage this money to make this work more affordable? In other words, pay the loggers to do this stuff that they can't generate any money from?
It's a big issue. We've, on every timber sale.
I mean, the point being is that you can hire foresters and set up all the sales you want, but if you can't get anybody to make any money doing the work, how the hell's it gonna get done?
Yep. Well, that's actually one of the reasons why we're looking at the CFLFD grant. Might help us get that work done. We were looking at stewardship contracts,
Yeah.
which allow the money to stay locally and actually do some of that work instead of going to the treasury. And so, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity, I think, to do that. We're right now on a timber sale, we're taking, in lodgepole pine right now, it's about 40%, 40 to 50% is saw logs to the mill. The rest is firewood, pulpwood, posts and rails. Posts and rails pay for themselves, saw logs pay for themselves. The pulpwood and firewood doesn't pay for themselves. So basically, you gotta have enough volume of the other two to pay for that.
Right.
To make it work. And so the way to do that is you offer enough green, enough posts and rails, enough of this stuff to get the income from, have a stewardship contract, and that allows you to do that work on the ground.
Exactly.
This is all kind of a theoretical discussion though, right? Because we didn't get the money.
Well, it's not theoretical in that it's being done on other forests, even without that money.
Right.
And so we're pushing, and right now is a good opportunity because we have the support of the forest supervisor. And she wants to see this stuff done. We know all the county commissioners, I know, I'm hopeful Granite County will come on board. But you've got the watersheds. I mean, we've got a unique opportunity to get a lot of people involved in this. We got the Butte watersheds are all, at risk. Phillipsburg watershed's at risk of a big fire.
How often is this money made available? In other words, will there be another process?
Yeah, there will. There's Joint Chiefs, which is another grant project or opportunity. There's other money available.
Other funding opportunities, and then this one, they're talking about in 2 years, probably will come back again.
Okay.
So 2 or 3 years, they'll probably come back again for another.
And so really what I'm here to ask is that maybe you guys maybe send somebody to come to come to our meetings and report on what you're doing in your group to us, and then also kind of keep us posted on what's happening over here, and we'll do the same with you. You'll see what's happening on the whole forest in terms of this restoration.
Our ranger goes to your meetings, if I'm
Yeah,
not mistaken.
and he comes to someone. We invite, because the meetings, you don't want it to be last forever. We invite one ranger to every meeting. And they give a report on their district, so.
When do you meet?
I'm sorry?
When do you meet?
It's the first Wednesday of every month in Butte. And I'll send an invitation to Chuck, and you guys can decide for yourselves if you want to send somebody or who it might be, but
Sure.
even the commissioners are welcome. Like I said, we have three county commissioners that are members of the group, and the fourth one is not a member, but he comes to all meetings. And
What time do you usually meet?
it's from 1 in the afternoon till 5.
And you can use the grant that we have for you for the travel and meals, things like that, to get to those meetings, to support those, support getting there.
And then you're part of the collaborative.
And
I'm not totally against collaboration, but you gotta have coordination too.
Well, I know what you're talking about.
You can do all the collaboration, bring everybody in there, and then the thing gets sued anyway, so what.
I'm curious about something in your working group. When you take an action, and this is something we discussed when we were getting going, then do you, is it required that every single member of your group
No.
be in favor? No. Okay, and I think we had gotten hung up a little bit on the idea that maybe collaboration meant it had to be some
No.
unanimous
In fact,
thing.
I accidentally handed in, I only have one copy of our bylaws.
They're probably online.
They're online,
You go
but
into the
it has our whole decision-making process in there.
And that's on mine?
Yeah.
All right.
through the Montana Forest Collaborative.
No, through Beaverhead Deer Lodge Working Group.
Okay.
And the National Forest Foundation actually hosts that website, so it might be through them, I'm not sure, but we're actually facilitated by National Forest Foundation, so we actually got money too from DNRC to help facilitate. Because it gets pretty big, and we have a lot of good discussions.
And Maureen Connor, she's the at-large representative,
Yeah.
she the one from Phillipsburg?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, see, she was county commissioner one time, so that's how she got on the group. And then when she left the county commission, we asked her to stay on as a member of ours.
So one thing that's changed since decades ago is the forests now are really managing their priorities as a forest. It used to be, districts kind of were autonomous. You had your district staff, you did your program. But now it's moved broadly to the forest, and the forest has to figure out how to use a small staff. Which districts are working on.
Which is a mistake, but.
It's a mistake, that's what they're doing. So to me, it'd be really strategic for you guys to be connected, because this group has the ear of the forest supervisor and the deputy about where the most urgent priorities are in the forest.
Well, I had to coordinate with the forest supervisor. I didn't do anything without direction from the forest, agreement from the forest supervisor. But I'd start ideas from my district. If I saw a project I needed, I'd go after the money.
Right, and so if you guys were to go in there, usually either the forest supervisor or the deputy and staff are there, you could interact with them about what's needed in this county. And what, things that you're talking about, like we need to have more breakup of the fuels, it's too homogeneous. That word needs to get to those guys. And so if they have other counties represented and not Granite, they're not hearing your story, they're not hearing your need. So I just think it's a reason for you guys to connect, try to send somebody.
I worked in budget for years and years in the forest supervisor's office, in recreation in the Chippewa, and I had to justify everything we did. I had to sell myself. We had to sell the projects. That's what you got to do. You got to have your projects make sense. You got to have a reason behind it. You got to know exactly what it's going to cost, what the benefits are, what the drawbacks are. In other words, it's a salesmanship job. And the better salesman you are, the more work you're going to get done.
Hey, Chuck, one thing, you were talking about your coordination versus the collaboration. You definitely need both. I was reading your bylaws a little bit and how this group was established, and it looked like you were established as by the county commissioners to help get more down forest and coordinate with the agency, which is a good thing. It's definitely a little different than the whole collaborative thing. It doesn't mean there isn't a place for both.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the collaboration thing with the agency, like it or not, I'm a little old school here too. You don't want to get me started because I don't understand a lot of this, why it isn't being done already. We've been through this for 15, 20 years now with all this litigation and this shift to, doing less. And but collaboration is here to stay. The agency has moved in the direction of listening to these collaboratives, and they're not doing anything without that feedback now.
Sure. Just so, I'll pass on to you what my understanding of our little group's mission in life is here. Really, what we are supposed to do is, we are supposed to advise the county commissioners on how to deal with the federal agencies, mainly Forest Service and BLM. And the dealings that they have, the commissioners with the federal agencies, are supposed to take into account the fact that by law, when the Forest Service is making decisions out here, they have to not just inform the commissioners here what they're doing, but they have to coordinate with the commissioners. So, and we don't have to get all hung up like we have in our meetings a number of times on all this, but the fact of the matter is, I am not so sure that it's our mission for our group to do anything more than gather information, try to come to a consensus amongst ourselves, and by consensus I mean, you know, maybe not unanimous, but it would be nice if it was close to that, and then advise the commissioners. And so,
That's different, yeah.
yeah, that is a little different than your working group, for instance. Your working group is you're basically trying to work hand in hand with the Forest Service, for instance, to try to help them. It's not, I don't think, our mission in life to work hand in hand with the Forest Service, other than we need to get information from them. But mainly, our mission is to advise our commissioners as to how we feel they can best get the Forest Service to coordinate with them, and a little bit back the other way, I guess, you know. But
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think there's kind of an area of overlap with a lot of that getting the information. We do too. We always have somebody come to the group that's going to tell us, well, why do you have a fish key watershed? Well, why do you, I mean, we have several ranchers, Rick Sanders in Madison, we have Tom Coote, he's on the, from Jefferson County, of course, the commissioners themselves, a couple of them are ranchers.
Right.
And they came to one meeting and it was all about the mountain pine beetle, all the trees coming down over the fences, and I gave any help on cleaning up these fence lines. And then the range cons out there writing them tickets, because the mountain pine beetle killed a lodgepole was over the fence lines. And so we managed to get through that discussion, but I don't know, maybe it's something that would be helpful to you guys, maybe it wouldn't.
I would think the information gathering, I think you would learn stuff at these meetings that you could bring here and
I
tell.
agree with you completely.
Yeah,
I
it's like,
agree with
and that would be adequate for a grant, just to bring more information into this group for your
Right,
advisement.
The ultimate goal is that our group here, after becoming more self-educated on all of these related federal agency questions, then would give our commissioners good advice on how to try to coordinate with those. And coordination is something that's in the law. You know, collaboration is something that's nice, but it's not required. But this coordination is required in federal law. And the commissioners, I think, they could use more background and more ideas on what they'd like to see, for instance, from the Forest Service here. And the commissioners, coordination works both ways. Our commissioners might have several suggestions. That's the job of our commissioners, though. It's not our job to do that. Our job is to advise them. And if any of the members have a different understanding of what our group is supposed to be doing, I'd be welcome to hear it right now.
I think you're spot on with that description personally.
So, okay, and is there more that you guys would like to offer at this meeting. We don't want to hang you up too much here. Are there any questions that any of us have for these guys? Because it sounds like they know a lot.
Do you belong to the Montana Forest Collaborative?
Network, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think it would be good if Chuck went to the meetings, since he's a commissioner and the DNRC would pay. I mean, wouldn't that make a lot of sense?
That would be Chuck
If he
Willing.
wanted, if Chuck wanted to, but it seems like that would be, no, for you, it just seems like it'd be a real learning experience.
I'd be skipping the committee then.
You'd what?
I'd be skipping this.
No, it's the first Wednesday.
No. So if I went over there and got the information, you guys wouldn't have that information. Well, unless I told you. But, you know, then it'd be coming from me. It'd be my perspective. And,
We
I think one of you
we
guys
would
should
trust
go.
your perspective.
huh? What?
Yes, we would. We would trust your perspective.
Well, I think the biggest problem we have is no one tells us anything. We have no clue of what's going on. If there's
We
a
need-
project or something going on with another collaborative.
Ask the right questions, and I think the more as we go along, I think we'll be asking more questions of the agencies, of, you know, various experts, you guys are here because we're trying to learn.
So, you know, we could work that out, who goes. I mean, later, you know, we know what it is, when it is, and, you know, maybe Patty would wanna go. You know, she's well informed.
Your meetings are open to the public, are they? Yeah, so, I mean, any of us could go at any time, and I'm guessing that our group, then, if somebody came back from one of these working group meetings and had some information, I'm sure we'd be all ears.
That'd be great. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let me just interject an example of what I've seen. I've been to like 3 of their meetings, and so periodically the forest will come in and they'll show their schedule. They'll say, here's the projects we plan for the next 3 years or 5 years. And there's other commissioners. How many other county commissioners are usually there?
Well, there's 3 members that are there all the time.
So these other commissioners look at that list and they ask questions. They say, oh, you only got one in my county? What about this, and that? So it's a chance for everybody to kind of ask critical questions to the forest about how their plans are shaping up and where their projects are. And I think you guys should be there and hear this and have input.
Yeah.
You know.
That's a great example. Of course, y'all know Leonard with Jefferson County. If he hadn't pushed being in that meeting, we probably wouldn't have had that Boulder lowlands and Boulder landscape addressed, the Mount Pine Beetle kill up there, because he was pretty adamant about it. And we ended up with the first good neighbor authority sale in the state, which I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
Anyway. So anyhow, that's a good point. It's really, you know, helpful to hear from the counties.
How is the forest plan implemented in this collaboration? I mean, it's spelled out in the forest plan that the forest will do this and this and this and this, and then they don't do it. And then, I mean, does it have any impact on the committee, or?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you know, for me, on the timber side it does. I mean, we watch that pretty closely. Matter of fact, the Red Deer Lodge is actually doing pretty good on that.
Well,
In terms
a
of-
few years they were,
On the timber
you
side.
know, a few years back,
Yeah.
that they were doing.
All
well.
litigation, appeals litigation, of course, appeals are gone, but now it's all litigation, and they're starting to make some progress on that. They're starting to win in court. They're not winning them all, but they're getting there.
So do you think there's less litigation if the plan comes from a working group that has a diverse membership?
I think, I don't know that there's any less litigation, because it's the same 2 people always litigating.
No matter what.
Yeah,
And who are those 2 people?
And they don't believe this.
Alliance for
Just
Wild Rockies.
flood them with projects and they can't litigate them
Okay,
all.
so it's Mike Garrity.
Yeah, and Native Ecosystem Alliance.
Sarah Jane.
Those are the 2.
And they just litigate
But
everything.
I will say
If it
this,
wasn't a project, they
when
can't.
it goes to
win them all.
court, the judge definitely looks at the collaborative.
It seems like they
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
We were upheld on the East Deer Lodge Valley project, and the collaboration, we actually intervened on that lawsuit, and I think it really does help the judge make a decision.
Depending on the judge.
Yeah.
It's pretty hard to win against, you know, the Alliance for the Wild Rockies and their pet judge, Don Malloy, for instance.
We have Christensen now. He does.
He's not as bad.
He does.
Hope I don't have to go in front of Don.
The state, DNRC and the governor really believe that it strengthens the success of litigation to actually have the counties engaged all along the way, and that's why they hired me. In 2015, the county, or the state legislature said, we need somebody going out and kind of helping counties get into this process of comments, objections, and litigation support. So that's really, I'm being paid by the state to go here and try to encourage you guys to engage and have Granite County's name on these projects, so when they're in front of a judge, they can see, you know, this is important to counties, local communities. That's really important as they're assessing, you know, the benefits and the costs of moving these on. So that's really why I think it'd be a really great thing for you guys to attach your name to these projects, probably through the BVRD working group, because they've got others. So, you know, they've got others, but they don't have your name on these things yet, these recommendations.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys, have you dealt with any access issues at all?
We have, we have motorized rec represented on our group. He also happens to be our mining representative.
Who's that?
Give me the list. Mark Thompson with Montana Resources.
Right.
And we had a big access issue up on the Boulder Lowlands project. And because that area is really high-density roads. And we ended up having a separate public meeting up there. We actually held it, the Red Deer Lodge Working Group, with the Forest Service. But we helped them with it. I shouldn't say we helped it. They held it, we helped them with it.
Well, I've got notes on
And
this.
it was all on access. And we laid out maps, and the motorized recreation groups came into the meeting, looked at the maps, and they told us which roads were important to them. Yeah, I mean, just something like that is really helpful, because then you can make adjustments. And why the Forest Service doesn't have that as part of their regular process. They have public meetings, but this one was specifically geared towards motorized recreation, so we invited them to that meeting. That's just one example. One of the big problems on Red Deer Lodge is they haven't finished their travel plan for the forest. They're kind of going district by district. And so they need to really get that done.
I thought our district got done in 16.
Did it? Mine did.
Yeah.
There's two, I think,
well,
that have been done.
There's a, you know, the Beaverhead Deer Lodge, they've got their travel plan maps. There's the north, the central, and the south maps. And there was one issued in '08, and then there was a new one issued, I believe it's either 13 or 16. And there were, you know, a number of changes in usage.
But that's the place to get involved, is right when you're putting those timber sales together. And
DNRC really looks at access, and we comment on access. And one of the things I found is that a few years ago there was a strong Forest Service bias to decommission roads and to eliminate roads because they had high targets for decommissioning, and their watershed budget they'd only get money for watershed if they did a lot of that. But that's changing now, because restoration is becoming the big thing with timber output. And now they're trying to understand the future road needs for restoration onto the future, and they don't want to take out roads that they're gonna need in the future. And so DNRC is helping with that. We're trying to help them understand, because we're pretty into infrastructure, and we're trying to help them understand, no, you don't want to decommission that road because you got these stands out there, and we're a influencing force. And I think you guys should be doing that too, because otherwise they're just wasting much of money with road decom, and they're gonna have to go put another road back in. And that's got their attention now that they weren't doing that right. They're trying to change that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Can I ask, that first 4 million you talked about, who was the giver of that 4 million?
It's Forest Service.
It is Forest
Oh,
Service.
okay.
I just-
But the BVRD isn't gonna get that right now because they didn't,
Right.
we're moving forward.
Well, we want to be ready the next time around, so.
Why do you think the tier 1 application failed?
It's just.
Yeah, Steve, why do you think
It was
it's
just,
tier one?
it was a good application, I helped and I was reviewing it, it was strong, but the Helena Lewis Clark is moved forward in tier 2. And if you guys have been to Helena lately and looked at their dead and down trees in their municipal watershed, the fire risk up on the Helena Lewis Clark is really high. And it's very contentious. They got the most lawsuits of anybody in the region.
I was gonna say, I think it was.
Yeah, so the CFLR program is designed to help forests get through contentious projects. It's good to help you try to get more people on board early so that you have a better chance to get through litigation, that these things move, they get in. So the more contentiousness, the more it fits the program, plus the need, the conditions on the ground strong. The other one was the Bitterroot, and the Bitterroot's really having trouble getting projects through. And they've had some really horrific fires the last 5 years. There was this roaring lion fire near Hamilton, and some others that have really been threatening. And they got a lot of growth out into the interface. There's a lot of development, a lot of people building. And the forest doesn't have a good handle on that. They're not protecting the new subdivisions very well, and they're closing off access. So the forest said, look, if you give us that 4 million, we'll really get a better handle on that. We'll put out really good projects to protect the community and figure out our access better. They have a ton of roads that they think they're doing watershed damage, but they want to work with the collaborative to really be careful about decommissioning and pick the right ones. So they both sold them on highly contentious, high needs. And then there's the Idaho Panhandle. That's the third one in the region that's moved forward. So those 3 moved forward. The only 2 that dropped out were the Lolo and the BVRD. And it's just a matter of competition. The other ones, they saw that as being a higher need because of the degree of, the degree that the contentious issues are holding back.
You know,
That's my take on it.
somebody had said that the BVRD was one of the most unhealthiest forests.
From that standpoint, I agree. I mean, from my view, that's true. But Helen Lewis and Clark is probably close. You guys know a little bit about that. I mean, they've got a lot of bug kill when you drive around up there.
We've been doing a good job of burning up all our bug killers.
There you go.
So that's another reason why.
150 years, we can do it over
Yeah,
again.
there's no reason for us to get any money because we took care of the problem.
Well, then the other thing though is and Tony was talking about this, is in addition to the need on the ground and how contentious it is, the third leg that we looked at is how organized you are right now. How organized you are to use this money and to run. And so the forests that have a restoration strategy that's meaningful, like they know where they're going. Some of the forests, like these others, have it charted out on a map. We know, this year we're going here, in 2 years we're going there. And they're big projects charted out. They're really large, 50,000, 100,000 acres that are set up really well already. And they just need the money and they can go for it. And these guys are starting that, or they're into it, but maybe they're not as developed as the other forests. They've been working on it a long time.
Maybe in 2 years.
Yeah, one of the hindsight in our collaborative, we got a lot of counties represented. And we started with the CFLRP proposal being just the big hole. It's a smaller landscape, more manageable, maybe we can make a better argument, get all the groups involved in that, the big old watershed group. We took it to the collaborative, and, you know, Jefferson County and Madison County, and everybody wanted to be, they got all the same issues. I mean, it's pretty hard to argue, well, why the big hole when the Boulder landscape's just all dead lodgepole? And so, you know, logically, we said, okay, let's make it bigger. Granite County, we roped in Granite County and Jefferson, the part of Powell that's on the Beaver Head Deer Lodge, and it ended up being a 4 million acre landscape with the private land. And so, you know, that didn't help us get organized with all the landowners.
Sure.
You got more people you gotta bring into the fold.
In the long run, though, it might turn out better.
Yeah, you never know.
Do you ever talk about the fires in your meetings? And how much
Yep.
the Forest Service is lit by going indirect, and how many acres they're burning up?
Yeah, that actually came up in either the last meeting or the meeting before because of the problems they're having on the Helena. They've got a lawsuit going right now because of the private land that was backburned to try to stop the fire. And in fact, I just had a conversation, you know Peter Kolb, our extension agent out of the University of Montana, just had a conversation with him today about that because it seems like the fire arm of the Forest Service is totally disconnected with the management arm.
That's exactly what it is.
Exactly
I
right.
mean, they've got
That's
this
wrong.
eminent domain thing where they can go anywhere they want.
That's
and
what's
they're just-
wrong. They don't get the people on the ground involved. They
Right.
don't get the rangers and the,
And they don't get the landowners involved. They don't even
No.
tell the landowners they're going.
man, we used to fight our fires.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of
No, I
time
mean,
fighting fires, you know, with me
So
and
there-
my crew.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done in that area, and,
I'm
I
gonna be
know
pushing to get it.
exactly, I know exactly what you're talking about. My brother Paul and his partner Phil McDonald, they've got a couple thousand acres down there by Mammoth, you know, down in the tobacco roots. Had a big fire there a couple of years ago. Forest Service went in on their ground to start the
Yeah.
backfires.
yeah, I mean, I don't know
Without
why.
even
They'll go back
asking.
2-3 miles and start a fire.
I just don't understand why there isn't.
They don't
somebody
understand how to fight fire.
talking to the landowners and getting them on board. Hey, if we have a fire, what do you guys think about this?
Right,
Just talking to them
right.
ahead of
So-
time.
So how does that issue like that get on your agenda, or how does that become part of the working group discussion?
Okay, so we're gonna make it a part of our, as a result of working with the National Cadre, part of how we can help the Forest Service is having a strategy to talk to these landowners and getting them together and with the Forest Service and get your fire management strategy put together. Forest Service doesn't have one, a management strategy.
Well, I think we should have a commissioner's representative be able to go to every incident there is, go to the fire camp and be part of it. And, because we would represent the people of the county in that county. And that would eliminate these people coming from California, these teams coming in there and thinking they own the place. And
They
they
are
don't.
really roughshod. I'll tell you what, they come in, they do their thing and they leave.
Exactly, and they don't care.
Not even from the local area.
But the forest has a representative there, I mean, that's required, there has to be a forest person.
No,
an
we-
agency representative at the team.
But that doesn't do any good.
Well, but they
I mean-
should be talking to you, they should be.
It's our county, so we should have a representative
Yeah.
there, because we answer to the people in this county.
Well, that would be coordination.
Well, my point is, it's too late by then. You got a fire that's racing over the hill, they're gonna do what they need to put it out. They need
No, they
something.
don't. No, they don't, they'll go indirect. It's just like, I explained this before, in Mako meeting and all that stuff, the little hogback fire, I know that they didn't do that, they lit off thousands of acres. They waited, and they told
I
me.
saw it too.
They told me they're gonna wait for the east wind to come up and go back to an indirect line that they built 2 years before. And I wrote a letter to the Forest Service, and they told me to mind my own business, because I said, you're gonna burn everything west of that indirect line, right? Told me mind my own business. That fire come up there, it went to Miners Gulch, and then it went to, beyond that, to the north, there's a wet area. That would not have come over. I went down and talked to them, they wouldn't listen to me, and they said, yeah, we're gonna wait for the east wind, go along the 4325
Right.
road and light it. And they did it 2 days later.
No, I actually talked to Sherry about this personally. I said, hey, you know, I'm getting tired of hearing from loggers how inept it is out there.
Yeah, oh,
Fighting
it's
fire,
crazy.
doing things that are just crazy.
Yeah, it's
How can I
insane.
support the Forest Service and be an advocate for you guys if you're doing this kind of stuff? And
You know,
so-
with the equipment, the felt bunchers and all that stuff, they could go direct at night. You know, they got lights and everything's mechanical, and there's hardly any, you know, the fire's down,
I
laid
know.
down and
You
whatever.
don't have to tell me, I've done it.
And go direct and you
100
wouldn't
times,
be
100
losing all those
times I've
acres.
done it.
So I agree with you. It's, she's aware of it. It's
I was a
something-
fireball, I was a fireball, I had fire boss qualifications, I know how to fight those fires.
When I talked to Peter Gold today about it, it's actually one of his pet peeves.
What he
Because
said is
he's-
true.
He's over these, well, the tree farm, the Montana, the forest, what is that, Montana Forest Owners Association. And, they're just livid about it. They've got no input into the fire management,
Mhm.
process. And there's gotta be a connection.
So if I go to one of your meetings, can I talk about this?
Absolutely.
They waste a lot of money.
Oh, you're gonna be sorry. to see.
Maybe we ought to meet before.
They've been clearing roads, widening them out to 200-300 feet, 10 miles away from the nearest fire. That's fire money, they're wasting it.
Mhm.
But I think the point is that there's a monthly forum, one day every month, where the forest leadership goes and connects with these guys, and whatever the hot issues are can get on the agenda. And I think you guys could get a lot out of, bringing stuff back for you to advise the commissioners, as well as there'll be times when you got stuff to kick in, to ask Sherry about. which
The
is-
only thing I caution about, since you gave me a heads up, is these people at this meeting are on our side. They've got just as much frustration, Sherry Ford, Jeff Tomac, Jeannie Dawson.
Forest Service people?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
they've got just as much.
That's good news. I thought the Forest Service was all the same. I didn't realize that the fire
Yes.
organization was a total separate organization.
Well, I don't know if it's separate.
They did that with law enforcement.
Yeah,
and Forest Service.
they haven't done that.
What I was
Yeah.
saying is
It's not
they
official.
act like it's a separate
It's
organization.
not official, it's just.
Because they don't have any, there's no line control there between them and forest
There used to be. The line used to control the fire.
Yeah.
But the team that come in, the teams that come in, their incident commander works for the forest. So-
Yeah, I know they do.
So, and they still do. So they work for Sherry or Jeff, so these discussions need to be had in the off-season, so when things are hot and flying,
Yeah.
they're set up well. And so these are really good winter discussions with these guys.
Yeah, and the timing's perfect, because we already kind of started that discussion. and-
Well, keep pushing them, because boy, that made me so mad when I saw some of the stuff like he was talking about going on out here. We had some big fires here in 17. I saw where they'd go back 2-3 miles to set a backfire. You don't do that when you're fighting fire.
That's what they did in Helena, and the mistake they made is these guys were part of Peter Kolb's Tree Farm Association, and they've done stewardship projects on those lands, and so there's a lot of value there, and the problem is there's no reimbursement for private landowners. They can go backfire, burn up whatever they want, there's no reimbursement unless
Emergency.
they go to court.
Well, even a little hogback, there was, I told those guys, I said, there's clear cuts there that we logged, and I was the cell administrator on it, and we had natural regeneration, we had the 6,000 cones per acre, we counted them, we got it back, and it left, with the loggers, little patches of alpine fir out in the middle of these clear cuts, it broke them up, it looked beautiful. 25 years worth of growth, and they went and
And
lived.
they burned it up.
Yep,
I saw
they
that.
didn't care,
Yeah, I saw
they
that.
just didn't care.
Well, that's exactly what happened in this one case. All Peter's saying is if they're gonna do that, if they're gonna act that way, they need reimbursement.
No,
Well, they shouldn't act that way. Somebody should get on the clock and
Well,
stop
you
it.
know, I've seen the change. I worked for the Forest Service too for over 30 years here.
Here.
And I worked in Alaska too, actually, and I've seen the difference from the 90s when the changes started taking place. And look what they've done to our forests now by making those changes. They weren't good. Get rid of the loggers, let's just burn stuff up and make a lot of money, and of course, now we all have to deal with smoke hazards that aren't there for just a couple days, they could be there all summer long.
Well, it's swinging back. The region, for the first time in many, many years, overachieved their target this year. It hasn't happened for, they said, 10 years or more. But their target was 400 million, something like that. I think they got 403. So they're really moving back.
I hope so.
And this regional forester, Leanne Martin, is telling her forest supervisor she wants acres treated in volume. You know, she
On
wants-
the other hand, the targets now might be somewhat more modest than they were.
Oh, yeah.
They are.
They are.
Back when we
Very
had,
much more
you know,
modest.
50 sawmills in Montana and all these loggers sending their kids to our schools, so.
Yeah.
So I'm, in my capacity as the temporary king of this group here, I'm gonna say, unless there's something of real pressing interest for these guys, I think we could let them go, and we're gonna wrap up here fairly quick. We don't
Okay,
have
well,
much
thank
else.
you very
Yeah,
much,
thanks.
I will say this.
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we're gonna get at least one official visitor to your next meeting, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get a couple of visitors in the public gallery there too. It sounds like what's going on in your group is worth
Good.
paying attention to, so I really appreciate what you guys had to
Appreciate your
offer
time.
today.
Thank you.
All right, say hi to Sherman.
I will.
My brothers and I sold a piece of equipment to Gene one time.
Did you?
Gene was a good logger, let me tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew him, but
No, I didn't, I didn't.
I said,
yeah,
"Clean."
pretty good guy.
His brother was just up a few days ago, Mike.
Yeah? Oh, Sherman's brother.
Yeah.
I bought a snowmobile from Mike and this is what you'd expect from a good Mormon like Mike. I bought it in the white front bar.
That's Mike.
So anyway, yeah, it was great
Lot of
learning from you
Hey,
guys.
thanks.
If you guys have any questions
Go
about
ahead.
what can fit under the $5,000, just call me. You know, call me before you make a big expenditure if there's any doubt.
Okay,
Because I wouldn't want to have to tell you, no, we don't see that fits. I'd rather talk about it up front
Okay.
ahead of time. So,
Sure.
okay,
Thank you.
Thanks,
yeah, thanks.
Thank you
Yeah,
very
bye.
much.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, new business. This is sort of new and sort of old business. How the funding of our
I can explain that.
copies works. Somebody from our group has to go talk to the clerk and recorder. The clerk and recorder is under the impression that the county, for instance, we just had these copies made and I see a bill here for $80 or something
yeah.
for making the copies. It's my impression that the county has said they will pay for our expenses up to $5,000 or some amount. And then it's also my impression that the county is going to be reimbursed by this grant. But I think the money immediately, have you gotten paid for anything that you've done?
No, I'm not being paid anymore,
You're not being paid?
No.
Were you paid before?
for a couple months, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they said I couldn't be, so I decided it would be best
Sure.
I don't.
Well, and that's neither here nor there, and Dick was trying to fill me in on this. We need to just check, and I'll do this. I'll check with the clerk and recorder and see what the actual nuts and bolts. I mean, eventually, we think this grant is going to be paying for our expenses, but it may be that the county pays first, and then the grant reimburses the county, and I'll find that out from her, just so we know. The important thing
Not
is.
for this, I wouldn't think. I think it would go to the grant.
Yeah, that's.
We'd just have to save up, you know, a few $100 and then ship it to him
Yeah,
and
that's
explain what it was
Right,
for.
I'll find out.
Because it's not in the,
The clerk and recorder, I'm happy to pass on that interpretation of how it works. She'll tell me how it works, so.
yeah.
And I'll salute, might be left-handed, but I'll salute. So, and, you know, we need more information from her about how she thinks that works. Okay.
I told those two guys, stop up the clerk and recorder and talk to them.
Oh, yeah, that'll
There's a
probably,
bill there for
that-
$85.
Yeah.
that could
They
just
got
muddy
it.
the waters, but it'll be fine.
But when you said that the grant, we have to send him invoices, you're gonna check on that?
Yep.
On how
I'm gonna
that-
find out what the
Okay.
actual, how the paper trail works.
Okay,
I'm not so sure that we applied directly to them. I don't know that. Okay.
No, that was a whole, that surprised me, yesterday when you said that. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't, I
think
thought the money
grant is
came
more,
over.
I think the grant, the idea is more that they reimburse the county for any expenses that qualify in the way that he said.
And there might be some issues on that issue, because I don't think that's the way the law reads.
Sure, sure. Well, we won't worry about that too much unless somebody says, well, we may have to pass the hat in here at some point. All right.
It's already been
Any other
passed.
new business?
Property taxes. Yeah, I just want to say something that may answer a lot of these questions. I don't know if you know about it, but on the 16th, Dan Clark from MSU is going to be coming here to give training. He'll be in the courthouse, I believe, courthouse upstairs, courtroom. And it's great. Any questions you have for conducting a board or where money goes, budgeting, open meetings, public participation, that's the training. I understand they did it once before, and it was pretty good. And
Okay.
What
So-
time is that?
3 o'clock.
3 to 5?
Yeah, they didn't, yeah, probably. And if you know of anybody else who'd like to go,
Any other new business? Okey dokey, and our structure is probably a little looser here, and so it says there's a line here for public comment. I think any members of the public here have already had a chance to, and it doesn't bother me if you interject. You can't vote when we have a vote. Maybe that makes you lucky. So, I mean, unless somebody has some other comment, then our next meeting, we know what the day is. It's going to be the second Wednesday of November. Is that
I
correct?
guess it's the 13th.
And at least one thing that's going to be on the agenda is Chapter 1 of the Natural Resource Plan for Granite County. Is there anything else that we should set up at this time for the agenda? For next time? That might be plenty of work, all by itself.
You might want to revisit how this grant funding actually works so that everybody knows.
I'll have a report. I'll have a report just on how the money flows, where it starts, and where it goes. Nobody knows. All right. Anything else? Okay, is there a motion for adjournment?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Any objections? Very good. I thought it was a great meeting.
Yeah, good meeting.
Yeah, it was good.
There we go.
I'm gonna take one of these.
Good job, Mr.